The lady who married my eldest son said something mean to me. She said I didn't belong here because I only finished middle school and I'm living off a pension. She made me really angry, but before I could respond, my second son's wife interrupted, looking worried. She said something about a story my eldest son's wife used to make fun of me, but now she's in a tough spot herself. My name's Sally, and I'm 62 years old. I'd lived a simple life since finishing middle school. I worked hard to raise my kids after my husband died 5 years ago. I've managed to stay healthy with support from others. I'm still doing some work my husband used to do, and though there are some issues, overall I'm content. But something's been bothering me. "Hey there, I've got a delivery for you," I say to the delivery person at my door. They handed me a single sealed envelope and a beautiful bouquet of flowers. The card on the flowers read, "Happy Birthday," signed by my second son Tyler. It was a surprise because I'd never received anything like this before. Back when Tyler was single, his now wife Ariana probably took care of such things. Tyler's a laid-back guy, while Ariana is more organized and thoughtful. They live about an hour away, but they visit occasionally to check in and invite me on trips with them. I called Ariana to thank her, and she sounded happy, saying, "Happy birthday. I heard you like flowers. Take care, and I can't wait to see you again." Ariana's such a great wife, almost too good for Tyler. But then there's the other letter from my eldest son, Tom. When I opened it, I found a birthday card. Tom, who got married before Tyler, isn't the type to do something like this on his own, so it must have been his wife, Mary, who sent it. Mary has always been a big worry for me. She brags about being highly educated and working for a big company. She's got a strong personality and can be pretty snobby. She judges people based on their education and job, and if she thinks someone's beneath her, she'll make fun of them. Since I only finished junior high school and have been working all my life, she looks down on me. I knew she didn't respect me from the start, but over time she's become even more arrogant. She'd show up at my house unannounced and expect me to cook for her, saying she was too tired from work. Sometimes she even asked me for money without telling my son Tom, who's also well off. Tom is like a husband to me, gentle and kind, so I tolerate Mary because she married him. But it hurts. I don't feel good about it. Still, she wished me a happy birthday, so I felt like I should at least thank her. That's why I decided to give her a call. I called Mary, and she sounded tired, saying she needed to keep it short because of work. I thanked her for the birthday card she sent me. She quickly acknowledged it, and then reminded me about an upcoming family dinner, telling me to dress nicely so she wouldn't be embarrassed. I agreed and said goodbye. She didn't even say congratulations, but that's just how Mary is, I thought to myself, feeling a bit disappointed. I wondered if there was anything I could do about the situation. A few weeks later, I had the chance to attend a dinner party with my relatives. It was for my niece's wedding. She's always been dear to me since she was little. She's a cousin of my sons Tom and Tyler. Since she wasn't having a big wedding, they decided to throw a dinner party to introduce her new husband to the family. Tom, Mary, Tyler, Ariana, and I were all invited. As we walked through the courtyard where the party was being held, I commented on the nice weather and how lovely my niece looked in her kimono. "You look great in your kimono, and it fits perfectly in this courtyard," I told her. "Well, it's a proper place today, and I haven't been here in a long time," she replied. "I wish I had worn a kimono too. This restaurant is really nice and luxurious," I remarked. "Oh, come on, I can't afford to buy you an expensive kimono for a place like this," my niece replied. "I know, I'm just saying," I said with a smile. As we chatted, my eldest son and his wife arrived late. "Hello, wow, you're dressed up nicely," I greeted them. "Hey, you don't have to say it like that." My son Tom tried to intervene, but Mary seemed annoyed. "It's almost time to go in," I said, leading everyone inside the restaurant. Around 30 relatives had gathered, and many of them came to greet me. "She's very well liked, isn't she?" Someone whispered. "Is it out of pity after all?" Mary muttered nearby. I ignored her and took my seat. My niece and her partner greeted everyone, and after a toast, the dinner party began. I had expected the restaurant to be in a rural area, but the food was impressive. They even had a good selection of sake. "It's no wonder they were featured in the Tokyo magazine," Mary remarked, enjoying her meal and drinking a lot of sake. The dinner proceeded peacefully, celebrating my niece's marriage. I was relieved to see that her partner seemed like a good person. "Incidentally, I heard you graduated from the University of K and worked for a famous bank," one of the relatives mentioned. "Yes, that's correct. I'm grateful to my parents for supporting my education," my niece's partner replied nervously. "That's good, university. Ah? Well, I graduated from W University myself. I'm a CEO at a big company," Mary chimed in, even though nobody asked. She seemed eager to show off her education and job. Tom tried to stop her, but Mary kept going. "In today's world, your education really matters, don't you think?" she said. "No, I don't agree. There are plenty of respectable people regardless of their education," my niece's partner replied firmly. But Mary didn't stop. "I believe those who went to K University would understand that there are things only educated people can grasp. People without education are, let's say, at a lower level, right, Sally?" She suddenly turned to me. But I already knew where this was going. "I'm not sure, Mary. Maybe you've had a bit too much to drink. Why don't you step outside for some fresh air?" I responded calmly, but it seemed to annoy her. "What's wrong, Mary? You're being a bit harsh," I said. "Did you just tell me to leave even though I have a college degree and you only finished junior high?" She snapped back. "I don't get it. What's your problem?" Tom tried to intervene, but I signaled him to stay quiet. It was time to address this once and for all, I thought. "Mary, if you have something to say, say it," I encouraged her, though I already knew what was coming. She chuckled and then began, "Let me be frank. If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to show my face in front of the family. You only finished middle school and have no qualifications." Everyone, including my niece and her partner, was watching us closely. "I haven't seen you doing much since your husband passed away. You're unemployed at 62, nowhere near retirement age. Where I work, people are dedicated, and I'm the main breadwinner," she continued, seeming to relish in it. "You didn't even go to high school, let alone a good one. You're in this situation because you lack qualifications. Isn't that pathetic? I definitely wouldn't want to end up like you, Aunt, though I don't have to worry since I work for a big company," she added, her words causing even the waitstaff to pause and listen. Then she dropped a bombshell. "Someone like you who only finished middle school doesn't belong here. It's embarrassing. You're just a poor person living off a pension. I don't want anything to do with you, so why don't you leave?" Mary's words pushed me over the edge. I had been trying to tolerate her arrogance, but I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. My nose twitched, and I fought back tears. I wanted to tell her to just shut up and listen, but before I could, Ariana, looking pale, interjected. Mary seemed confused as Ariana spoke. The relatives had various reactions. Some were bitter, some angry, some looked down on Mary, and Tom looked downcast. "What's going on?" Mary demanded. Ariana, trembling, explained, "Sally owns this restaurant." There was a moment of silence. Then Mary laughed dismissively. "Don't be ridiculous." "What are you talking about?" she scoffed. The manager and employees rushed to me. "Boss, are you okay? She's amazing. She's helped me so much." "Do you know what you're saying?" The manager yelled at Mary. She turned to Tom, bewildered. "Tom, what's happening?" "Wait, what?" "They're saying is true, Mary," Tom exclaimed. "Yeah, they're right. Dad and Mom started this restaurant, and Mom took over after Dad passed away, but she wasn't able to manage it alone. So now she lets someone else run it under her name. She really is the owner," Tom explained. "Why didn't you tell me this before? If I knew, I wouldn't have said those things about the restaurant or the property. I wanted to leave my mom alone, especially since she was depressed after Dad died. And when you found out about her education, you looked down on her and lost interest," Mary admitted. "What? How could someone who only finished junior high run such a fancy restaurant? The business must be failing, and the house is old. They really are poor," Tyler chimed in, addressing Mary's ongoing complaints. "Actually," he continued, "Mom likes to keep things simple, and the house is full of memories of Dad. She owns a condo near the station and other properties she and Dad bought together. Honestly, I think she earns more than you do." "What the? This is ridiculous. You're just a middle school graduate. Stop talking," Mary retorted angrily. Suddenly, a calm voice broke through the tension. It was a man who looked around my age, dressed sharply in a suit. "What's going on here?" he asked calmly. "Who are you to butt in?" Mary snapped. "I'm the executive director," he revealed. Mary's face turned pale. "No, it can't be," she whispered. "I had no clue that one of Mary's relatives was causing trouble at her company, I thought. Frankly, Mary, your reputation there isn't great. I've heard you're overly critical of other employees and treat them differently based on their education levels. It's causing significant problems on projects," the executive director revealed, leaving Mary looking as if she might faint. "I'll look into this case, and I'll ensure my report against you is thoroughly examined. You might face demotion or even termination," he added. Mary looked like she was about to plead for mercy, but Tom stopped her, saying, "Enough, Mary. This wouldn't have happened if you'd been honest from the start. Do something about it, Mary." With a face burning red, Mary turned on Tom. "Fine, let's get a divorce then. You're always causing problems, even at such an important event. And now you're affecting work too. I can't be with you after the way you spoke to my mother who worked so hard to raise us," Tom responded calmly as I broke into tears. "Ty held me, and Ariana comforted me." Mary, feeling distressed, insisted, "I won't accept divorce or demotion." "This is ridiculous." The executive director intervened quietly. "You need to leave now." "I agree. This is an important occasion for us, and my aunt is a significant person. We don't want it spoiled. Please just go," my niece spoke firmly, watching the scene unfold. Mary was in disbelief and left the room, with the employees stunned by the turn of events. Tom apologized to everyone for his wife's behavior, bowing deeply. My niece reassured me, expressing her love and support, while Ariana leaned in to tell me she respected me. Tom also expressed his desire to divorce Mary, saying he'd be happier without her. I was taken aback by Tom's decision to divorce because of me, and I felt guilty, but Tom reassured me, apologizing for everything and promising to be more respectful to his parents. After we all calmed down, we finished the dinner without any further issues. A few months later, Tom and Mary divorced. Mary caused a scene and tried to seek alimony in family court, but her claim was unsuccessful. An internal investigation at her company revealed her problematic behavior, and she was transferred to a smaller branch office in another prefecture, effectively being demoted. Something unexpected happened when Tom announced his decision to take over the restaurant. I had never pressured my children to take over the family business, wanting them to pursue their passions, but deep down, I felt a bit sad at the thought of letting go of the special place my husband and I had built together. Tom approached me with a serious expression, saying, "Mom, that restaurant is filled with dads and your love and passion." I initially hesitated to take over because I didn't think I could handle it, so I worked for a restaurant chain instead. But seeing how much your employees love and respect you, I knew I wanted to protect the legacy you and Dad created. I thanked Tom warmly and reminded him that he had much to learn and study. I promised to guide and teach him well as he took on this new role. Tom began working with me at the restaurant, and I found myself busy once again, training him. A year later, on my 63rd birthday, as Tom and I waited outside our house, Tyler's car pulled up. Ariana stepped out, her voice full of joy, as she wished me a happy birthday. Tyler gently lifted their baby from the car seat, joining in the celebration. "Welcome all three of you," I greeted them warmly, finally getting to experience the joy of being a grandmother to my precious grandchildren. "It's time for me to fully commit to running the restaurant, and I look forward to serving delicious food for my niece's celebrations," Tom declared, his eyes shining with determination after his diligent training. As we celebrate today, I secretly wish for Tom to find someone special now that he's a fully fledged chef, I added, hoping for his happiness and success in both his personal and professional life.
Hi, I'm Emma. Have you ever had someone you trusted completely shatter that trust in just 15 minutes? Because I never imagined my sister-in-law's obsession with my baby would lead to a police helicopter search and 3 families falling apart. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. 6 months ago, my life was picture perfect. I had just returned to my dream job as a private jet flight attendant, working select VIP flights while still being a hands-on mom. My husband, Mark, was a software developer who worked from home 3 days a week, giving us the perfect family balance. And then there was Olivia, my sister-in-law. She's absolutely precious. Olivia cooed during one of her increasingly frequent visits. She held Emma like she never let go, her fingers tightening just a little too much. Something in her eyes made my stomach twist. I told myself I was overreacting. New mom anxiety, right? After all, I'd always felt for Olivia. 3 failed IVF attempts had left her desperate for a baby. Mark and I had supported her through every heartbreak, but lately, something about her felt off. "Mommy's got you," she whispered to Emma at a family dinner. I froze, my fork hovering midair. "Olivia, I think you mean Auntie's got you," I corrected with a forced smile. The look she gave me could have frozen hell itself. Then she laughed, but it was hollow. "Oh, right, silly me. My best friend Taylor, a pediatric psychiatrist, happened to visit during one of Olivia's marathon baby-holding sessions. Later in the kitchen, she pulled me aside. I don't want to alarm you, but Olivia is showing signs of obsessive attachment. The way she acts like Emma is hers." I tightened my grip on my coffee mug. "You think I should be worried? Just be careful. These situations can escalate quickly." That night, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Olivia had a private Instagram account filled with pictures of Emma. The captions made me sick. "My perfect angel. Mommy's little princess. Finally complete." When I confronted Mark, he brushed it off. "She's just being a loving aunt, Em. You're overreacting." The next morning, Olivia showed up unannounced. "Let me watch Emma while you rest," she insisted, flashing a too bright smile. "You look tired." Before I could refuse, Mark chimed in from his home office. "That's thoughtful, Olivia. Em could use a break." I hesitated but relented, thinking I'd just take a quick shower. 15 minutes at most, Mark would be home. Nothing could happen in 15 minutes, right? I was wrong. The moment I stepped out of the shower, something felt off. The house was too quiet. No Emma's giggles. No Olivia's voice. Just silence. My stomach clenched. "Olivia?" Water dripped from my hair as I rushed down the hall, clutching my robe tighter. The nursery door was open. My heart stopped. Empty crib, empty rocking chair. Emma's favorite stuffed giraffe, gone. Panic surged through me. Mark? I screamed, sprinting to his office. He yanked off his headphones, startled. What's wrong? Olivia and Emma. My breath hitched. They're gone. Mark bolted up, rushing to check the house while I grabbed my phone. Olivia's number went straight to voicemail. Again and again. Her car's not in the driveway, Mark called out, his voice tight. My hands trembled as I stared at the empty crib. She took my baby. No diaper bag, I whispered, my voice cracking as my eyes landed on Emma's packed diaper bag, gone from its usual hook. Mark, check the garage camera. We had installed security cameras after a break-in last year. Now, as the footage loaded, my legs gave out beneath me. There she was, Olivia. Calm, methodical. Loading suitcases into her car, Emma strapped into a carrier against her chest. The timestamp, 17 minutes ago. Those weren't just shopping bags. My throat tightened. She planned this. Mark's phone buzzed. His mother's name flashed on the screen. He hesitated, then opened the message. Olivia has Emma safe. Don't let Em call the police. The baby needs a real mother. The words made my stomach churn. Call 911. I ordered, my voice dangerously calm. Em, wait, let me talk to my sister first. Call 911 or I will. Mark finally dialed, his hands shaking. Before the dispatcher could even speak, the doorbell rang. Taylor burst in, still in her hospital scrubs. I saw Olivia's car speeding past the hospital, she panted. She had Emma. I came straight here. The police arrived within minutes. I handed over the security footage, my fingers trembling as I scrolled through Olivia's Instagram page. The detective beside me frowned. Look at her recent follows, he muttered. Cabin rental companies. All in the mountains, all within the last week. Then Mark's phone rang again, his father. The detective gestured for speaker mode. Mark answered, his voice tight. Dad, where is Olivia? His father's voice was cold. She's doing what's best for Emma. Your wife is too focused on her career. A baby needs a real mother. A real mother. Fury roared through me. I snatched the phone. You helped her plan this. We did what was necessary, his father said flatly. Emma will thank us one day. The detective took the phone. Sir, you are now an accessory to kidnapping. We've traced this call. Units are on their way. Mark collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. The evidence said otherwise. The detective rattled off Olivia's recent purchases, baby supplies, burner phones, cabin rentals, all on a credit card Mark had co-signed. His family hadn't just enabled her. They had funded this. Amber Alert is live, an officer announced. State police have roadblocks on all major highways north. Highway Patrol is launching their helicopter now. I stared at the last security image of my daughter, her tiny hands reaching toward the camera as Olivia drove away. The rage, the fear, it crystallized into something sharp, something unstoppable. Taylor, I turned to my friend. You've seen cases like this. Where would Olivia go? Taylor's eyes widened. Wait, didn't her therapist have a vacation cabin? The detective spun around. Where? As officers scrambled to trace the location, I made a silent bow. I would find my daughter. And Olivia was about to learn exactly what a real mother was capable of. The mountains, night had fallen when police cars roared up the winding mountain road, their sirens splitting the darkness. The detective's GPS beeped. We're closing in. Multiple vehicles at the property, the police helicopter radioed. Matching descriptions of Olivia's car and the grandparents' SUV. My grip tightened on the detective's seat. Taylor sat in the back beside me, her presence the only reason they had let me come. She had convinced them her psychiatric expertise might be crucial for negotiation. Then the radio crackled again. Movement inside the cabin. A second later, the lights inside went dark. The detective killed our headlights as we rolled to a stop. Through the trees, Olivia's red sedan came into view. Beside it, my in-laws' black SUV. They were here. My baby was here. Mrs. Anderson, the detective whispered. Stay in thee. A piercing cry shattered the night. Emma. I was out of the car before anyone could stop me. Wait, Taylor grabbed my arm. Look. Through the cabin window, we saw them. Olivia, pacing, cradling Emma, my in-laws standing by the door like guards, and at the kitchen table, sitting calmly, was Dr. Stevens, her former therapist. He helped plan this, Taylor realized, horror in her voice. The cabin, the timing, all of it. The detectives' team moved in, surrounding the cabin. He lifted the bullhorn. Olivia Anderson, this is the police. We have the cabin surrounded. Come out with the baby. Silence. Then Olivia's laughter rang through the walls, high-pitched, unhinged. She's mine now, she shrieked. Tell them, Mom. Tell them how Emma never deserved her. The detective tried again. Olivia, you are endangering a 6-month-old child. Taylor took the bullhorn. Olivia, it's Dr. Carter. As your former colleague, I need you to think about Emma's safety. More silence. Then, Dr. Stevens moved toward the window, hands raised. Let me handle this, he called. I can talk her down. The detective scoffed. Like you've been handling it for months? Some doctor you are. The front door cracked open. My mother-in-law stepped out, hands raised. We were protecting Emma, she said. Emma deserves a real mother, not someone who's always flying around the world. By kidnapping her. The detective advanced, ma'am, on the ground. Now, everything happened at once. My father-in-law bolted, but officers tackled him. Dr. Stevens surrendered, already muttering about his lawyer. Inside the cabin, Olivia screamed. She's trying to climb out the back, an officer shouted. I ran, Taylor right behind me. We rounded the cabin just as Olivia emerged, Emma in her arms, making for the woods. Olivia, I yelled. Stop. She spun wildly, her eyes manic. She clutched Emma tighter. My crying daughter. She needs me, Olivia sobbed, tightening her grip on Emma. You don't love her like I do. You left her with me. You practically gave her to me. For 15 minutes, I choked out, my voice breaking, while my husband, your brother, was in the next room. Emma's cries grew louder, her tiny hands reaching for me. Her face was red, streaked with tears, her little body trembling in Olivia's arms. Look at her, Olivia, I pleaded. Look at how scared she is. Something flickered in Olivia's eyes. Doubt. This isn't love, Taylor said softly, inching closer. This is obsession. And you need help, Olivia. Real help. Not Dr. Stevens' twisted validation. Police stood ready, but they held back, letting Taylor work. Olivia's grip faltered slightly. I just wanted. I know, I whispered, but this isn't the way. Emma's next wail shattered something inside Olivia. Her knees buckled. She crumpled. And I lunged forward, ripping my daughter from her arms. Emma clung to me, her cries muffled against my shoulder. I held her tight, inhaling her baby scent, grounding myself in the warmth of her tiny body. The officers swarmed in, pinning Olivia's hands behind her back. As they led her away, her screams echoed through the trees. It's over, Taylor murmured, wrapping her arms around me and Emma. But as I watched Mark's family being loaded into police cars, his parents in cuffs, Dr. Stevens reciting his rights, and Olivia's vacant, broken expression, I knew the truth. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. 3 months later, dawn broke over the courthouse steps, casting long shadows on the cold stone as I adjusted Emma's blanket against the autumn chill. Inside, justice awaited. Mark sat on the opposite side of the courtroom, his shoulders hunched, eyes fixed on the floor. The moment the bank statements surfaced, proof his parents had deposited money into Olivia's account the day before the kidnapping, his claims of innocence crumbled. The divorce papers were already filed. Then Olivia entered, shackled at the wrists, her designer clothes replaced by a drab prison jumpsuit. She looked smaller, hollowed out, defeated. Psychiatric evaluations revealed the truth, a deep-rooted obsession fueled by infertility grief and enabled by the very people who should have helped her heal. Mark's parents followed next. Then Dr. Stevens, the man who twisted his medical oath to manipulate Olivia instead of treating her. The therapist who preyed on her vulnerability and helped orchestrate a kidnapping. The judge's gavel fell like thunder. A premeditated conspiracy, she declared. An attempt to abduct an infant from her mother. a gross abuse of medical ethics, family trust, and the mental health system itself. One by one, they learned their fates. Prison sentences, medical licenses revoked, restraining orders signed. "You did it, Em," Taylor smiled as we drove home. "We did it," I corrected, glancing at Emma dozing in her car seat. I couldn't have fought them alone. At home, I tucked Emma into her crib in her real home with her real mother. The trauma would always be part of our story, but it wouldn't define us. My phone buzzed. A message from my new lawyer. Restraining orders officially filed in all 50 states. They could never come near me or Emma again. I kissed my daughter's forehead, breathing in her sweet baby scent. We were safe. We were free. And somewhere in a prison cell, Olivia was finally getting the help she should have received long ago. Because sometimes trust shatters in 15 minutes. But with the right people by your side, you can build something stronger from the pieces. What would you do if you discovered your closest family members weren't just enabling dangerous behavior, but actively plotting against you and your child? Where do you draw the line between forgiveness and self-protection? Emma chose to cut all ties and pursue legal action to ensure her daughter's safety. Would you have handled it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. She hired a woman to seduce my husband, claiming our marriage needed excitement. That woman turned out to be my best friend from college. I sat at my kitchen counter, gripping my phone as disbelief coursed through me. The text messages from my mother-in-law, Eleanor, flashed across the screen, each word dripping with smug satisfaction. "Honey, I've done you a favor. David needs a real woman, someone who can give him the excitement he deserves. Don't blame me for trying to fix your boring marriage. My name is Sophie Anderson, and at 32, I never imagined I'd be reading messages from my husband's mother bragging about hiring someone to seduce him. But then again, Eleanor had never hidden her disdain for me, the simple teacher who had, in her eyes, stolen her precious son away from the high society life she envisioned for him. The irony? David and I were happier than ever. His architectural firm was thriving, my fourth-grade students adored me, and we just moved into our dream home in the suburbs. But to Eleanor, our contentment was a problem. "A marriage needs drama," she would proclaim at every family dinner, her sharp gaze locking onto me. Passion, excitement. Not this, domestic routine. I scrolled further, my eyes narrowing at her so-called master plan. She had hired what she called a sophisticated woman through an exclusive agency, placing her at David's firm as a temporary consultant. In her mind, this woman would awaken some dormant dissatisfaction in my husband, making him realize what he was supposedly missing by being married to me. "She's everything you're not," worldly, ambitious, experienced Eleanor had written. David won't be able to resist. I should have been outraged, heartbroken, maybe even afraid. Instead, a laugh bubbled up inside me. Because what Eleanor didn't know was that just 3 days ago, my college best friend, Olivia, had called me, barely able to contain her amusement. "Sophie, you're not going to believe this," she'd said. "Some wealthy woman specifically requested me for a consulting job at David's firm." She kept emphasizing that I should dress to impress and show him what he's missing. "I think your mother-in-law is trying to set up your husband." Olivia and I had been inseparable in college, bonding over late-night study sessions, disastrous relationships, and wild adventures. She had stood by my side as my maid of honor, and though her high-powered consulting career kept her traveling, we had never drifted apart. The best part? Olivia had continued laughing. "She has no idea we know each other. She just saw my credentials and photo and thought I was the perfect seductress. Should we tell her, or should we have some fun with this?" Now, rereading Eleanor's triumphant messages, I knew exactly what we should do. I dialed Olivia's number. "Your new client just texted me to gloat," I said when she picked up. "Feel like teaching my mother-in-law a lesson." Her laughter was immediate. "I thought you'd never ask. I start tomorrow. Should I play the role she's paying for?" I grinned, already picturing Eleanor's horror when she realized her plan had spectacularly backfired. "No need to fake anything. Just be yourself. But maybe dress up a little more than usual. Let's give her a show she won't forget." "This is going to be fun," Olivia mused. "But what about David? Should we tell him?" I considered my husband, who had spent years pushing back against his mother's relentless meddling. Not yet. Let's see how this plays out first. Besides, he's been saying he needs help with the Miller project. You're actually perfect for that consultation. After we hung up, I turned back to Eleanor's messages and typed out a reply. Thank you for caring so much about our marriage, NIL. I'm sure this consultant will be exactly what David needs. Her response was immediate. Just remember, dear, sometimes we have to accept when we're not enough for someone. I set my phone down, shaking my head with equal parts pity and anticipation. Eleanor had spent years trying to prove I wasn't good enough for David, so obsessed with her own vision of what his life should be that she never stopped to see what actually made him happy. Tomorrow, my best friend would start her new job as the so-called other woman, and Eleanor would learn an unforgettable lesson in meddling. I poured myself a glass of wine, already planning our next move. This was going to be interesting. The next morning, I moved through my usual routine, glancing at my phone now and then for any updates from Olivia. Around 10 a.m., a notification buzzed. It was a photo of Olivia, poised and elegant in a sharply tailored business suit, standing beside David in his office. The caption read, "First day on the job. Your husband just introduced me to the team. Should I reminisce about our spring break in Cancun?" I barely managed to suppress a laugh during my class's quiet reading time. Moments later, another message appeared, this time from Eleanor. The consultant started today. David's secretary says they had quite the lengthy private meeting. Maybe he's finally realizing what he's been missing. If only she knew they were probably reminiscing about that time Olivia and I got lost on a hiking trip and had to be rescued by park rangers in college. By lunchtime, my phone rang. Eleanor's voice oozed false concern. "Sophie, dear, I just thought you should know. I dropped by David's office with lunch, and he was working very closely with the new consultant. They seemed quite comfortable." "Oh, how wonderful," I chirped, unbothered. "I'm so glad they're getting along. The Miller project needs someone with strong credentials." A silence stretched on the other end. Clearly, my lack of jealousy wasn't the reaction she'd anticipated. "Well, yes, but don't you think it's inappropriate for them to be spending so much time together?" "Not at all," I said smoothly. "In fact, why don't you join us for dinner tomorrow?" David mentioned inviting her over to continue their work discussion. "You should come too. You did find her, after all." Eleanor sputtered. "Dinner? At your house? With her? Of course, you've done so much to support our marriage, you should be there to see the results." After hanging up, I fired off a message to Olivia. "Dinner tomorrow night. Eleanor's coming. Wear that red dress from my wedding rehearsal." The next evening, I prepared Eleanor's favorite meal, the same dish she had criticized at last year's Thanksgiving. Olivia arrived first, looking effortlessly chic. We were catching up in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Eleanor entered, dressed to impress, clearly expecting to witness the beginning of her carefully laid scheme. But she froze at the sight of Olivia and me laughing together. "Eleanor," Olivia greeted warmly, stepping forward. "Sophie's told me so much about you. Thank you for recommending me for this position. It's almost like fate brought me back to them." Eleanor's expression turned rigid. "Back to them?" Just then, David walked in. "Mom, I see you've met Olivia. Can you believe the coincidence? My new consultant turns out to be Sophie's best friend from college. You remember, she was the maid of honor at our wedding." I wish I had a camera to capture the sequence of emotions that played across Eleanor's face: confusion, realization, horror, and finally, humiliation. She clutched her designer purse as if it might save her. "Your best friend," she managed, turning to me. "Yes," I beamed. "When you texted me about hiring someone to bring some excitement to my marriage, I was thrilled to find out it was Olivia. You truly couldn't have picked a better person. She knows exactly what David needs." Olivia lifted her wine glass. "Eleanor, your son has been fantastic to work with. Such a devoted husband. He even spent half an hour today showing me photos from his and Sophie's anniversary trip. And the way he talks about Sophie's teaching career, he's so proud and supportive." Eleanor sank into a chair, her perfect plan crumbling before her eyes. I don't understand. The agency said." "All of the agency did a fantastic job," Olivia assured her. "They matched David's firm with precisely the right consultant. The fact that Sophie and I have been best friends for 15 years? Just a delightful bonus. Though I am curious, why did you specifically request someone to dress provocatively and flirt with David?" The room fell into a stunned silence. David turned to his mother, his expression dark with disappointment. Mom, what is Olivia talking about? Taking pity on Eleanor's rapidly unraveling composure, I smoothly redirected. Why don't we all sit down? Eleanor, I made your favorite coq au vin. You always said mine needed improvement. I hope this version is exciting enough for you. Throughout dinner, Eleanor barely touched her food, her face flushed as Olivia regaled us with college stories, including how she'd helped David plan his proposal to me. David, meanwhile, kept shooting his mother looks of quiet disapproval between discussions about the Miller project. Finally, Eleanor stood abruptly. I should go, she announced, her voice strained. I just remembered an appointment. But you haven't even tried dessert, I said sweetly. I made it with plenty of drama and excitement, just how you like things. She snatched up her purse and practically fled. As the door clicked shut, the three of us exchanged glances before bursting into laughter. I can't believe she tried to hire someone to seduce me, David said, shaking his head. Though I must admit, her taste in consultants is impeccable. He raised his glass to Olivia. Should we feel bad? I asked, though I couldn't stop grinning. Absolutely not, Olivia replied. Besides, the Miller project really did need my expertise. And Eleanor's generous consulting fee. That'll cover that spa weekend the three of us talked about. After our dinner fight, things changed quickly. Eleanor stopped showing up at David's office unannounced and quit sending her usual helpful marriage advice texts. Even at family dinners, she was quieter than usual, barely speaking or looking at anyone. But I knew this wasn't over. 3 weeks later, she struck back. Have you heard what your mother is saying? David's sister, Emma, called to warn me. She's telling everyone you and Olivia planned this to humiliate her, that you somehow knew about the consultant and set her up. I laughed. And how does she think we did that? Did we magically make her hire my best friend to seduce her own son? I know, it's ridiculous, Emma said. But Mom hates being outsmarted. She's trying to twist the story to make you the bad guy. Later, Eleanor sent a family group text. I think we need to talk about Sophie's concerning behavior. She deliberately embarrassed me, showing her true colors. I was only trying to help their marriage, and she turned it into a cruel joke. Family dinner this Sunday. We need to discuss this. I showed David the message. He sighed, frustrated. This has to stop. She's been trying to control our marriage for years, and now she's playing the victim. Should we skip dinner? I asked. No, he said, determined. We're going, and we're bringing proof. Sunday dinner was tense. Eleanor had gathered the whole family, sitting at the head of the table like a queen about to deliver a verdict. Before she could speak, David stood up. I have something to share, he said, pulling out his phone. He pressed play. Eleanor's voice filled the room. I need someone young and attractive to show my son what he's missing. No, competence isn't important. The more tempting, the better. Money is no object if you can find someone to break up this marriage. Eleanor's face went pale. Where did you get that? She whispered. The agency records client calls, David said calmly. When Olivia realized what was going on, she asked for a copy for legal reasons. Legal reasons? Eleanor's voice shook. Yes, I said, keeping my tone gentle. Trying to break up a marriage and lying to an agency has consequences, Eleanor. Are you threatening me? Not at all, David said. We just want the truth out there. From the other end of the table, Aunt Martha spoke. Eleanor, you tried to hire someone to seduce your son. Are you out of your mind? Chaos erupted. Eleanor's carefully crafted story fell apart. By the end of the night, she fled to her bedroom, claiming a headache. As we left, Emma pulled me aside. I owe you an apology, she said. I always thought you were just paranoid about Mom. But this is worse than I ever imagined. The next week, Eleanor checked herself into a wellness retreat in Arizona. Before she left, she sent me a text. I suppose I underestimated you. I replied, you underestimated our marriage. David and I are a team, always have been. Olivia finished her project with David's firm, and it was a huge success. She even joked about adding professional marriage strengthener to her resume. As for Eleanor, the retreat seemed to change her. She wasn't a completely different person, but she was more subdued. She even started seeing a therapist. At our next family dinner, she complimented my cooking without adding any helpful suggestions, a small but important step. On the way home, David chuckled. In a weird way, Mom did add excitement to our marriage. Just not how she intended. I squeezed his hand. Should we send her a thank you note? Dear Eleanor, thanks for hiring my best friend to seduce your son. It really brought us closer together. He laughed. Maybe next year's Christmas card. Sometimes I catch Eleanor watching us at dinners, gatherings, family events. She sees how David and I work as a team, how we laugh, how we support each other. And I think finally she's starting to understand that real marriage isn't about drama. It's about trust, love, and partnership. Oh, and Olivia, she just moved to our city to open a new branch of her consulting firm. When we announced she'd be our future baby's godmother, the look on Eleanor's face was priceless. Your mother abandoned you because she didn't want you. Sarah's voice sliced through the living room, each word like a blade. My heart stopped. Standing frozen in the kitchen doorway, I watched as my sister-in-law crouched to my children's eye level, her expression carefully schooled into something resembling sympathy, but underneath, something dark lurked. Your real mom just left you at the hospital and never looked back. She continued, her voice dripping with false concern. You should be grateful Amanda took you in. I felt the mug slip from my fingers, ceramic shattering against the hardwood floor. 3 heads snapped toward me. Sarah's lips curled into a satisfied smirk before quickly smoothing into mock innocence. Oh, Amanda. I didn't see you there, she said, standing and adjusting the cuffs of her designer blouse. I just thought the kids deserved to know the truth. Secrets aren't healthy in a family, right? Sophie and Lucas stood rooted to the spot, their small faces twisted in confusion and pain. 8-year-old Sophie's lip trembled as she shook her head. But Mommy said. Mommy lied. Sarah's words were as sharp as knives, precise and deliberate. She's been lying to you from the beginning. I found the paperwork. Your real mother didn't want you. She walked away and never looked back. Lucas let out a small whimper and ran to me, gripping my legs tightly. Sophie didn't move. Tears slipped down her cheeks, her breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. Is it true, Mommy? She whispered. Did our real mom not want us? My throat tightened. The story of their adoption was one of love and sacrifice, not abandonment. Jessica, their birth mother, had made the hardest choice imaginable, not because she didn't love them, but because she loved them too much to let them suffer. I had always planned to tell them the full story when they were ready, not like this, not ripped open by someone who wanted to hurt them. I took a steadying breath. Go to your rooms, sweethearts. We'll talk in a little bit. Sophie hesitated, glancing between me and Sarah. But when I reached out, she finally turned, wiping her face with the sleeve of her shirt. I waited until they disappeared up the stairs before rounding on Sarah, my voice shaking with fury. How dare you? Sarah met my glare, unbothered. I'm just looking out for my niece and nephew. They deserve to know the truth. That wasn't the truth. That was cruelty. My hands curled into fists. You had no right to tell them anything about their adoption, let alone twist it into something so ugly. Sarah's perfectly painted lips curved into a smirk. I was just being honest. They'll never really be yours, Amanda. No matter how much you pretend. Something inside me cracked. Get out of my house. She laughed, a cold, amused sound. Or what? You'll tell Mark? She picked up her purse, slinging it over her shoulder. He always believes me. Blood is thicker than water, or, in this case, thicker than adoption papers. I said nothing. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. She took a step toward the door, then paused, looking over her shoulder. Oh, and I took the liberty of telling Mom and Dad, too. They were just shocked to find out how you've been deceiving everyone all these years. The door clicked shut behind her. For a moment, I stood there, the silence ringing in my ears. Broken ceramic, spilled coffee, the ghost of my children's shattered trusts. Then, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother-in-law. Family meeting tonight. We need to discuss your deception. Deception. As if love could be measured in blood. As if every scraped knee, every lullaby, every sleepless night spent holding them through fevers counted for nothing. Upstairs, muffled crying seeped through the walls. I forced my feet to move, one step at a time, until I reached Sophie's room. The door was slightly open. Inside, my children sat huddled together on the bed, their small shoulders shaking. Sophie lifted her tear-streaked face. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. Why did you lie? I sank onto the edge of the bed, opening my arms. For a moment they hesitated. Then slowly they crawled into my embrace, curling against me like they had when they were babies. I never lied to you, I murmured, stroking Lucas's hair. Your story is beautiful and special. I was waiting until you were older to share all of it. What Aunt Sarah told you wasn't the truth. Lucas sniffled. But she said she saw papers. Papers don't tell the whole story, sweetheart. I kissed the top of his head. Your birth mother loved you very much. So much that she wanted to make sure you had the best life possible, even if it meant she couldn't be the one to give it to you. Sophie wiped at her eyes. Then why did she give us away? I opened my mouth to answer. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Mark. The bedroom door flew open, and my husband stood in the doorway, his face flushed with anger. Amanda. What the hell is this? Sarah told me you've been lying to my parents about the kid's adoption. Sophie and Lucas tensed. I forced my voice to stay calm. Mark, we need to talk about this privately. No, we need to talk about this now. Sarah said you made up some noble sacrifice story. Daddy? Sophie's voice wobbled. Is Mommy not our real mom? The hurt in her voice made something shift in Mark's expression. His gaze flicked to our children, really seeing them for the first time since stepping into the room. Their tear-streaked faces, their trembling hands. His anger wavered. He let out a slow breath. Kids, go play in Lucas's room for a bit. Mommy and I need to talk. After they left, I stood. You believed her. Mark hesitated. She found papers, Amanda. Papers she had no right to go through. What was she even doing in our attic? He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. She was helping Mom look for old photo albums. That's not the point. No, Mark. The point is that your sister just told our children they were unwanted, that their mother threw them away, and you're standing here, defending her instead of them. Silence. Mark swallowed. She said the documents prove. The documents don't prove anything except what she wants you to believe. You want the truth? Fine. Go to the attic. Behind the Christmas decorations, there's an old blue trunk. Open it. His brow furrowed. Amanda. Go, Mark. I turned, walking toward Lucas's room. I didn't need to see his reaction. I already knew what he would find. The letters. Dozens of them. Each one written by Jessica, year after year, asking about the children she had loved enough to let go. The attic was silent except for the rustling of old paper and the occasional shuffle of Mark's footsteps. I sat on the floor with Sophie and Lucas, holding them close, trying to steady my racing heart as we waited. He was seeing them now. The truth I had protected all these years. The letters. Dozens of them, carefully preserved in plastic sleeves, each one dated in Jessica's neat, looping handwriting. Their birth mother had never abandoned them. She had loved them enough to make the hardest choice imaginable. And now, finally, Mark was seeing it for himself. A loud thud echoed from above, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps on the attic stairs. Sophie flinched. Lucas buried his face in my shoulder. Then Mark appeared in the doorway, his face pale, his hands shaking as he clutched a stack of familiar envelopes. His mouth opened, but for a moment no words came out. Then, finally, Amanda, these letters. I nodded slowly. They're from Jessica, the woman your sister claims heartlessly abandoned her children. He swallowed hard, his gaze darting between me and the papers in his hands. Then he looked down at the one on top, his fingers tracing the delicate ink. His voice cracked as he began to read aloud. December 15th. Dear Sophie and Lucas, today was my ultrasound. I saw both of you for the first time, my beautiful twins. I wish things were different. I wish I could give you the life you deserve, but I know I can't. Not now, not with my illness. Choosing adoption is the hardest decision I've ever made, but it's the most loving thing I can do for you. Sophie scooted closer, peering at the paper. Can I see? Mark hesitated, looking at me as if seeking permission. I nodded. They deserve to know the truth. All of it. Carefully he pulled Sophie into his lap while Lucas pressed against his side. I reached for their small hands, squeezing gently. Your birth mother wrote you letters throughout her pregnancy, I explained softly. And she kept writing, even after you were born. Even after. Lucas lifted his head, his wide eyes searching mine. After what, Mommy? I took a steady breath. after she knew she wouldn't survive her illness. My voice wavered, but I forced myself to keep going. She wanted to make sure you always knew how much she loved you. That choosing adoption wasn't about leaving you. It was about giving you your best chance. Mark pulled out another letter, his voice thick with emotion. My dearest babies, I met your future parents today. Amanda and Mark. They're everything I prayed for. Amanda has so much love in her eyes when she looks at the ultrasound photos. I know in my heart she'll be the mother you deserve, the mother I wish I could be. Sophie let out a soft, hiccuping sob. But Aunt Sarah said. Mark's grip tightened protectively around her. Aunt Sarah was wrong. His voice was firm, unwavering. Very wrong, and she had no right to tell you otherwise. Heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs. Sharp. Quick. Sarah. She stormed into the room, her expression twisting in frustration when she saw what Mark held in his hands. Oh, how convenient, she sneered. Suddenly, there are letters that explain everything. Really, Amanda, how long did it take you to forge those? Mark shot up so fast that Sophie nearly tumbled from his lap. His entire body was rigid with fury. That's enough, Sarah. She let out a breathy laugh, incredulous. Mark, don't tell me you're falling for this. She's obviously. I said enough. His voice boomed through the room, shaking with a rare, barely contained rage. I recognized Jessica's handwriting. I was there when she wrote some of these letters. I watched her document her journey, her decision, her love for these children, our children. Sarah's smirk faltered. For the first time, real hesitation flickered across her face. Still, she grasped at straws. I found the hospital papers, they showed. They showed what you wanted them to show. I cut in, my voice steel. You found the admission papers from when Jessica was hospitalized. But did you even read past the first page? Did you see the diagnosis, the prognosis, the reason she chose adoption? Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it again. No, I said quietly, you didn't. Because you weren't looking for the truth. You just wanted to hurt us. To hurt my children. Mark took a slow, measured step toward her, his hands still gripping the stack of letters like a lifeline. Why, Sarah? His voice was hoarse. Why would you do this? Her face twisted, eyes burning with something bitter and ugly. Because she doesn't belong in this family. She burst out. She swoops in with her perfect little life, adopts these kids, acts like she's their real mother. I am their real mother, I said softly. Sarah flinched. I took a step forward, my voice unwavering. Just like Jessica wanted me to be, there's room in their lives for both of us, her memory and my love. But there isn't room for your poison. Sarah turned to Mark, her voice shifting to the same wheedling tone I had heard too many times before. Mark, you can't seriously. Get out. His words landed like a hammer. She blinked. What? Mark's expression was stone. Get out of our house. Don't come back until you're ready to apologize. To Amanda, to the kids, to Jessica's memory. But the family meeting tonight is canceled. His voice was ice. I'll talk to Mom and Dad myself. I'll show them these letters. I'll make them understand what you've done. Sarah stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing, fury and disbelief warring on her face. Then she spun on her heel and stormed out. Moments later, the front door slammed, the sound echoing through the house like a gunshot. Silence settled. Then, can we read more of the letters? Sophie's voice was small, hesitant, but no longer filled with the same deep hurt. I sank onto the floor, opening my arms. Of course, sweetheart. Mark settled beside me, pulling Lucas close. I unfolded another letter, smoothing out the delicate pages, and began to read. Jessica's words filled the room, wrapping around us like a warm embrace, painting a story not of loss, but of love. Two mothers, bound by sacrifice and devotion. Mark's arm tightened around me. His voice was a whisper, just for me. I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you. I leaned into him, still reading. There was more to talk about: trust, loyalty, family. But for now, the only thing that mattered was this moment. And the truth finally shining through. 2 weeks after Sarah's attempt to unravel our family, I stood in the attic, carefully slipping Jessica's letters into a leather-bound album. Each page held a piece of the story our children deserved to know. One of love, sacrifice, and the truth that had nearly been stolen from them. Footsteps creaked behind me. Need any help? Mark's voice was soft, hesitant. I turned to see him climbing the last few attic steps, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. "Thanks," I murmured, accepting one. I took a sip, letting the warmth settle me. I thought it was time to make these more accessible. Sophie asked to read them again last night. Mark lowered himself onto the floor beside me, picking up one of the letters. He ran his fingers along the edges of the delicate paper, his expression unreadable. "You know," he said, voice thick with memory, "I'd almost forgotten some of these little details. Like how Jessica used to play classical music for them because she read it was good for brain development." I smiled. And how she craved spicy food through her whole pregnancy. Sophie definitely inherited that. Did you see her putting hot sauce on her scrambled eggs this morning? A soft chuckle escaped him, and for a moment we sat in a stillness, surrounded by the weight of history and the comfort of healing. The past 2 weeks had been a reckoning. When Mark showed the letters to his parents, their horror at Sarah's actions had been immediate. The family meeting she'd had planned to expose me had, instead, become a painful confrontation about her own cruelty. Mark broke the silence first. "Mom called earlier." He hesitated, tracing the worn edge of an envelope. "Sarah's starting therapy next week." I stilled. "Apparently, this wasn't just about us," he continued. "She's been struggling with infertility for years. Mom thinks that's where some of her bitterness came from." Seeing us with Sophie and Lucas, a deep ache settled in my chest. "That doesn't excuse what she did." "No," Mark agreed, his voice firm. "It doesn't. But it explains some of it. She and Tom have been trying for so long, and instead of asking for help, she lashed out." I exhaled slowly, absorbing that. She could have talked to us. "I know," his hand found mine. "But Sarah's never been good at vulnerability. She'd rather burn bridges than admit she's drowning." A small noise came from the attic stairs. We turned in unison. Sophie stood there, her stuffed rabbit clutched in her arms, her eyes flicking between us and the album. "Hey, sweetheart," I said gently, opening my arms. She came over, curling up between us. She hesitated, fingers skimming the corner of a letter peeking from the album. Was my first mom pretty? I reached for my phone, the secret I had kept safe until now. "See for yourself." I pulled up the only photo I had, a hospital room, Jessica bathed in soft light, her face glowing despite the sterile backdrop. One hand rested on her rounded belly, her eyes filled with a love that had transcended time, space, and even her own mortality. Sophie inhaled sharply. "She looks like me." Mark nodded, his voice tender. "You have her smile, and Lucas has her eyes." She traced the image as if memorizing it. Then, in a small, uncertain voice, "Is Aunt Sarah still mad at us?" Mark and I exchanged a glance. "She's not mad at you," I said carefully. "She's dealing with some grown-up problems that made her say things that weren't true. But that wasn't your fault. Or mine. Or your first mom's." Sophie mulled that over. "Will she say sorry?" Mark sighed. "I hope so. But even if she does, it's going to take time before she can visit again. We need to be sure she won't hurt you with more lies." Sophie nodded, her gaze returning to Jessica's face. "Can we put this in a frame? Maybe next to our family picture?" My throat tightened. Tears burned the edges of my vision. "Of course," I whispered. "Would you like to help me pick the perfect spot?" That evening, we hung Jessica's photo in the living room. Lucas insisted on making a construction paper frame, decorated with bright yellow stars. "First Mom loved looking at stars," he explained solemnly. I smiled, brushing his curls. "She would have loved this, buddy." Later, as I tucked them into bed, Sophie rolled onto her side, watching me with wide, thoughtful eyes. "Mommy," she whispered. "Yes, love. Is it okay to love both my moms?" Emotion swelled in my chest, too big, too full. I smoothed a hand over her hair, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Of course it is, baby. Love doesn't divide, it multiplies. Your first mom loved you so much that she made sure you have another mom to love you too." I brushed my thumb over her cheek. "You have double the love, and that's a beautiful thing." The next morning, I slipped one final note into the back of the album. "Dear Sophie and Lucas, your story is one of love, courage, and hope. Jessica gave you life and made the bravest choice a mother can make. I promise to honor her gift by loving you with all my heart every single day. You were never abandoned. You were chosen. Twice over, once by a mother who loved you enough to let you go, and again by a mother who loved you enough to bring you home. Love always, Mom. Sometimes, the hardest truths lead to the most beautiful endings. Sarah had tried to break us, but in doing so, she had only made us stronger. Because love, real love, doesn't shatter under pressure. It endures, it heals, it multiplies. And in the end, it leaves a legacy that no bitterness, no resentment, no lie can ever erase.